so many things came up for me as he sang that, and with the emotion with which he sang it. One of the flaws sometimes in New Thought is that it becomes such an intellectual pursuit that we miss out on those great emotional God moments. Those great emotional moments where you just have a realization of love. And you have to cry. You have to, when you see the light, because New Thought promises stuff. Promises a lot of stuff. But then we have those other moments that are you can't explain. You just realize, oh, I am loved. Oh, I do have everything. Oh, there are no enemies. And within moments we could say, well, yeah, but. Yeah, oh, yeah, except I do have this one enemy. There's this one thing, oh, and I'm too heavy, and I don't have enough money, and oh, my career, oh. What happened to the God moment? You see, that God, when I talk about that God moment, it's not a special moment. It's a realization of your connection with Source, of where you find out, oh, I'm not separate from Source. I never was, never going to be. And it was a process to get to that realization. And that's what Kenneth just sang about, is Moses' process. Now, in New Thought Metaphysics, we teach the Bible metaphysically. And everyone in the Bible is me. And everyone in the Bible is you. And so we are both Moses, and we are the Pharaoh, and we are the brother Aaron, and and all these stories. And we are Adam, and we are Eve. This is not history. This is allegory to teach us about ourself and the power that resides within us through a process of doubt. Are you kidding me? I'm supposed to lead? But I stutter. But I don't know enough. I'm uneducated. I'm this, I'm that. I can't lead. Are you kidding me? Oh, my brother Aaron. Oh, can he sing? Oh, is he good? Pick him, God. Pick him. No, I pick you. But remember, I'm both Moses and Aaron. There must be something in me that can lead. And there's something in each and every one of us that can lead. And it's not always, you're not always leading a parade through town. But we're all leading by way of our thinking. And are we leading in a way we want to lead, or are we leading in fear? And there's no cause for guilt if we're leading in fear. However, do you really want people following if you're leading in fear? Is that what you wish to get? I say this especially to parents. Especially to parents. Are you leading in fear? You know, what are you teaching your children to be afraid of? Believe me, I was taught to be afraid of a lot. And as I've gotten older, some of those have manifested even bigger and bigger and bigger. In the Heart's Desire class on Tuesday, Tanya had us do a collage of our nightmares. You know, what scares us. And I'm sitting there and we're going through magazines, looking at pictures. Anybody finds a picture of a rat, hand it over to me. Well, what somebody, generous person, found was a big page of bats, which is close to rat. You know, it's fine. If you see, there's like a collage, just a whole gaggle of whatever you call bats, whatever you call the group of bats, fuzzy things with eyeballs staring at me. And I glued that to the page. And then there was a mouse burrowing, and I glued that to the page. And, there was some other ugly, what is that? What?
Bugs.
Oh, there was a good roach there, a good bug. And there was one of that ugly, was it not an, I always want to say aardvark, and that's not it. Well, those things we see in the neighborhood sometimes. Possum. The ugliest thing I've ever seen in my life, that especially in the headlights. And I glued that to the page. And jumping from an airplane, I put that up there. Height and no protection. And I wrote it down, and then Tanya had us write a passage about each one. And what comes up for, she had to give us a questionnaire, actually. And one of the questions was, what comes up for you when you look at this? And what comes up for me is I'm under attack. I am under attack when I look at these things. Well, why are you under attack? I don't remember the questions exactly. Take Tanya's class, you'll get the exact wording. But what I could see was there is something there that represents an adult, not my adult, but not me the adult, but another adult. And what would happen if you were to, I would lose my mind. I would lose my sense of reason. My mind would be taken from me. And that's what I saw as my adults, as a child. They sought, not intentionally, not maliciously, but nonetheless, they sought to take away my mind so that the only ruling mind would be theirs. And so through life, I have taken on symbols to take away my reason, my mind, for what I know to be true. It was wonderful to get a realization of that, because it helps me to remember once again, I'm not under attack. There are many of us in this room, I'm sure, would prefer that others think the way we do. Anybody? Anybody prefer that people think? Because yours is the right way, of course. As is mine. I've been trying to tell David for years, mine's the right way. Funnily enough, up here, I don't try to get people to think my way. What I do is offer suggestions on a kinder way of thinking. I won't say easier way. It's hard. It's very hard to think this way. To put down your demons and your on all those things, and think that I am loved. I am loved with an everlasting love. Oh, come on. This wouldn't be happening in the world if I were loved with an everlasting love. Well, let me tell you something. Read your Bible. Read your history books. Violence has been happening forever. Insanity has been happening forever. It's not like it just started in 1965. It's been forever, this insane thinking that there is maybe God. There is definitely violence. There is definitely bad people. There is definitely guilt. There's definitely... We will fight for our misery. And the problem is, if I fight for it, I get to keep it. We don't have to fight for joy. I as a teenager, I began to fight for what I knew to be true. I fought for my independence. I fought for my own way of thinking. And it made for some unpleasant situations around our house. Now, granted, I also fought and won the right to smoke at home, but nonetheless, I was exercising my right to be me. And I still do it. And as a minister, let me tell you something, there's a lot of people who would turn me into their bad parent. And I won't roll the dice. I will not be anybody's bad parent. I'm Shawn. And I'm going to be Shawn. No matter what. And I don't have to defend Shawn. Because if I defend myself, then I'm attacked. And I don't want to be attacked by anybody. I just don't want that in my head. And so we hear the story of Moses. And he's feeling attacked by God, first of all. God said, I've chosen you to lead. Now, what that is Moses heard within him a spark, a voice. Not a voice from outside, but a voice from inside that says, this is yours to do. And it's like, oh, come on. It'd be like saying, Shawn, it's yours to sing an opera at Carnegie Hall. Yeah, but there's so many better who could sing at Carnegie Hall than me. Last night I had to laugh. A press agent came up to me and said, have you thought about adding a few more songs to your show? And it's like, you're missing my point. But I had to realize, he likes how I sing, is what he's saying. And it never occurs to me that, because I don't think of myself as a singer, even though I sing a song in it. And but that pull to go ahead and be the God being that you are, whether you're afraid or not. It's like, step into it, throw down the rod, see what happens. It's probably going to turn into something equivalent to a snake. You throw down the rod of your independence, To see what's going to, this thing you've been holding on to. What is that? What is that I'm holding on to? First, you take off your shoes. That doesn't mean kick off your shoes. What that means is get rid of your protection that you think makes you safe. Because you are on holy ground. You don't need protection. You don't need to protect yourself from God. You don't need to protect yourself from truth. You don't need to protect yourself. And now this thing you've been holding on to, throw it down, see what happens. And the visual imagery that they use in the Bible, that it turns into a snake, well, a snake's scary for the most part. But it's for a purpose, so you can grab it by its tail. Are you kidding? That is now a snake. I could hold it when it was this. I can't hold that. Pick it up, and then it turned back into a rod. But now you see, the rod has no meaning, and the snake has no meaning. There was never anything to be afraid of in all this protection. We didn't need the protection. We didn't need to make ourselves safe against each other. And I'm glad some people like to tell me, well, Shawn, we should be afraid of some things. And I say, really, like what? And they'll say, well, like a lion. If a lion's coming towards you, you should be afraid. And I say, no. You should not be afraid. You should be respectful. Respect what a lion's likely to do and maybe get out of the way. Unless you have this amazing connection to the lion. And we've seen the video where the lion is hugging the former person. Not the former person. The former owner. Oopsie. See what a change of words can do? That's what happened with all the Bibles. These people wrote a new word. The scribes wrote a word here, put a curly Q here, became a whole different meaning, a whole different word. And so, to look at that, it's like I don't know about you, but I'll say my parents, quoting the Bible. I guarantee you, they did not. They transcribed a bit, according to more of their own fears than their own love of God. And a way to control, manipulate. And I don't hold it against them anymore. Look, it got me here. All those people's foibles got me here. This here is good. Let me tell you, it's nice to be up here. It's really nice to be up here. And so, why should I hate all those people for their confusion, their resistance? Why be mad at them? And why be mad at myself for my own confusion? I hear in the story there Moses has guilt because he's not what he thinks should be a godlike leader. There's not one of us in this room that is unqualified to be a God leader. Not everybody has to take on a church. Not everybody has to be a Sunday school teacher. It's not that. But Jiminy, you could be a God leader answering the telephone. 6 women this week became God leaders by saying, I have a voice, and I want to hear what it sounds, and I want to feel what it's like to hold a microphone and stand on a stage and sing, and I want to know what it's like to tell some of my story. And for those of you who didn't see the show, each of these women exposed a piece of themselves and their story. That at one time they would have said, I can't let people think that about me. I can't show that side of myself. What will people say if I say that? And now they're getting used to it, and it's like, oh, I did this, and nobody was mad at me. Nobody threw one stone. Nobody threw a tomato, nothing. Nobody threw a big cabbage onto the stage. They laughed, and they cried, and people said, and they identified with these women who got up here and told their story. And would you be okay if you knew your life was a process of unfoldment to see the God being that you are? Exodus. We started on the book of Exodus. And Exodus is to come out of. We read Genesis. Genesis is the beginning. But Exodus, to exit out of. Well, it's to exit out of limitation. Moses was working at getting out of Egypt. Metaphysically, Egypt stands for the material. The materiality. And so to not hate materiality, but to exit out of the belief that the material is the source. Material is effect. And so I am not bound to the physicality of this world. I am not bound to the physicality of my body. I am not bound to how I have materialized what I think you are thinking. And you'll notice I didn't say to what you are thinking, it's to what I think you are thinking. I've heard so many people say, I have a good friend who keeps saying, yeah, but they're going to think this, and they're going to say, I said, how do you know? Stop thinking for them. Do it and find out. Yeah, but you don't know. My dad will just, you don't know. This could be the day your dad says it's different. Would you be willing to go ahead and have your God realization again? How many people here have had those moments where you knew you and God were one? Yeah. Go ahead. Have it again. And again and again. And we'll keep forgetting. We're in a body. We're going to keep forgetting. And that's okay. Doesn't matter. But are you willing to have the one? And it'll freak you out. Some of it will freak you out. Because you want to be in a place where the world doesn't matter. And that won't make any sense. You'll have a moment where it won't matter what your mother thinks, your father thinks, your neighbor thinks, your husband, your wife thinks, your children think, or what you think. It won't even matter what you think, and you will know that for that moment. And you will be free. And you will grasp at anything you can to not be free. At anything you can. You will claw at the floor to try to make the world real again. But in that moment, you will know the truth, and the world will never be the same again. That has been my experience several times. It's been the same experience for several of you. The world is never the same. When someone you love leaves this planet, the world is never the same again. It's like, wait a minute, I've always thought the world looked like this, but now my friend is not walking, my mother, my father, whatever, is not walking on this planet. David's father, we think, is getting ready to, he's moving further, closer to leaving the planet. And I said to David, he was in the hospital last night, and I said to David, we stopped there on the way home, and I said, how do you feel about all this? Not what you think, but how do you feel? And he said, I don't know. I said, then what do you think? And he said, well, it's weird. I'm ready for him to go. But at the same time, it's my father, and it's so hard to see him there in that bed like that. And so I just sat and I prayed, and I said, we lovingly release you to the next part of your journey, through either a healing or a release. But this, to me, is not good enough. Where you are now is not good enough unless it's a process that serves. And so I lovingly release you to your next good, whether it's in the physical or you leave. Because I don't know. I don't know what it means. I don't know. And there are no words to define it. There's lots of opinions, but there's no words to define it. And so, once again, I ask you, you ready for your next God realization? Your next bolt of light, where you don't have a clue about anything but light. Is it okay with you? Well, then go ahead and walk through the fire. Because the fire no longer has to mean anything except it's warm. Thank you. Thank you.